Hello, everybody. Welcome, welcome, welcome. I am with one of my favorite renegades in the whole wide world, Miss Sylvia Puentes.
Woohoo! Thank you. Happy to join you for this topic. Wow.
Are you a renegade? In honor of a beautiful, kind of a quick creation class that Dane here is doing on the 7th and 8th of January, um, the title is totally it's the renegade class. It's about being a renegade, the renegade's guide to easy living.
That's it.
And there's a subtitle that I don't remember,
It's
but
making 2023 all it can be and more.
yeah, yeah.
That's
And when I think about people that I know that have easy living, Sylvia Puentes is, like, at the top. I'm catching up to you, but,
yes. Well, I'm so grateful. I mean, oftentimes this energy of like renegades might be an energy we call chaos.
Mhm,
It's this energy of willing to choose and move when the space opens up, and this creation has that energy, like in a short notice, in a short period of time, it went up, and you were the one that said something. It's like, oh, queen renegade.
totally. Well,
But it's so interesting because the energy of chaos and renegade has such a bad rap. Like,
yeah,
that's a wrongness. You shouldn't be that. You should follow the order, the structures, and the forms to life, living, family, relationship, And so I love it because, when I think of renegades, you're on my list, in so many areas.
yeah.
But that's one of the things I was saying before we went on live. It was like, wow, where have we misidentified? Part of the gift of us in that spark of living is oftentimes where we're in the space of what people would call chaos. And yes, chaos in this reality of choosing something when it might not seem the right time,
Mhm.
or a renegade to actually, yeah, choose, go where or few people are willing to go.
Yeah, totally, totally. And I think to one of the gifts for me of access consciousness and being around people like you, like fellow renegades, because am I a renegade? Yes, in my own way, and then there's all these things that I don't realize that I can choose that I see you choosing different things that you can choose, and I'm like, oh, like you have some we're not gonna tell them publicly, but you've got some great stories. I'm just saying, like, give her some wine and start asking and maybe she'll share, and we'll see. You've done some pretty impressive things in the world, let's just say that. Um, and there's this way that you have ease, like,
Yeah.
and it doesn't matter what the circumstances are, but I think that's it's been such a huge part of the invitation of access
Mhm.
consciousness for
Yeah.
me is like, it's like, oh, I could prioritize ease and I could use my like awareness of different things that I can choose and my willingness to be a renegade, like my willingness to choose, beyond this reality, basically, to have ease.
Yeah. And I'd say if I was to look at the renegade I truly be, it is the joy and the ease that
Yeah,
makes me, a queen renegade, I gotta say. And
totally.
and not that things don't come up. I recently had a situation where it was the intensity in my world, and where I allowed it to be superior, greater than me. And it
Mm,
was so interesting to notice the contrast of like, wait a moment, like what am I making so real and significant here that I have lost the joy in that space of possibility and that ease? Like, it took a while, but that's the gift of the Access Consciousness tools. It's not about being perfect or getting it right. It's beginning to notice when you lose yourself and where you have that lightness. So for me, that invitation, that now that Dr. Dane is having with this call in 2023, going, wow, what if I never lost that? Or what if it was just shorter, quicker, faster? Of like, whoop, nope, not that. What else? So
yeah,
that's a demand in my world to just have that awareness of when things seem so significant and real. When you talk about policies, regulations, all sorts of things that seem so real, it's like the willingness to ask a question, the willingness to stay open to possibilities, and then to have joy and ease mixed into that. You're unstoppable and uncontrollable.
Totally. Oh my gosh. Yeah. And one of the things I saw around this class was like, hey, when the financial markets are falling apart, are you willing to have money? Like, when you're supposed to be miserable, are you willing to be happy? Like that kind of thing. Are you willing to basically have ease when, everybody else says that it's not the time for that, the
Mm,
world is in, shambles, right? And that's there's such a willingness to be different there and to
yeah.
like not like I remember, there was at one point during the, whole thingy that we just went through. I'm not gonna say the word because I don't want to get like censored.
Ah,
But I remember seeing this thing on the building. I drove past this thing on a building in my town, and it was like this beautiful mural painted and all colorful, and it said, "We're all in this together," And I was like, "I'm not."
yeah, yeah. I'm so thankful because during that period of time, Heather, I don't know if you remember, but there was a moment where as everything started to close, I was in California and I was like, okay, we were probably all kind of waiting for things to shift and change. It's like, all right, a week, 2 weeks. I think by the third week, one of the gifts a friend said, it's like, I'm so glad you're stuck here, was what he said. And I thought, did he just say stuck? I'm all, what?
Sophia
Like,
Puentes does not ever get stuck.
but there was that moment of like, oh, I've actually stopped choosing. I've stopped asking what else is possible for me. And this is the part about being a renegade. You got to see what's possible for you. Like you
Yeah,
said, you're a renegade in your own way. Like we all have these ways of being, moving through the world, creating. But if you don't ask what's possible for you, that might not be possible for other people. And in that moment, I saw possibilities. And 10 miles away, I rented an Airbnb out in the vineyards. Then I found myself in Napa. And then you're like, you can come to Colorado because you could still fly. And people
yeah,
had totally stayed home. So that was the beginning of a nonstop, flying around everywhere I could,
yeah,
still during the time where people said you couldn't.
yeah.
And
Yeah, for me too. I mean, and that was super fun, having it was, like, such a really lovely time to have you at my house, and we just got to play a lot. It was really, really cool. But yeah, I remember being on planes that were, like, empty,
yeah,
because my partner lives, a few states away,
yeah,
and I was like, "If you think I'm not gonna fly and go see my partner during this time, like, y'all are crazy. Like, that's not gonna be a thing?" But that's the thing is, like, when you have an awareness of, like, because
yeah.
you could turn it in like, I coulda turned that into fight.
Yes.
I could have turned that into, like, the resistance and the fight of, like, "Oh, you're not gonna control me,"
Yeah.
and I'm not just talking about during this particular time in our
Right.
history, because it applies everywhere, all the time, but if you turn it into, "Now I need to," like, I'm aware of something, and now I'm gonna turn it into a fight against, you are not gonna have easy living?
No.
I was just like, "Oh, no, I'm just gonna choose this because I can."
Yes,
I'm
that.
willing to. And nobody said anything? I was like,
Mm.
"Here I am on the plane," and again and again and again. I mean, I was flying everywhere, like
And you know what I get too? Like one of the gifts of that is that I got to see where so many of us hear something and we take it as fact and don't question it, don't ask what's the workaround, what else is possible. Like we're
yeah,
not asking. And I remember at the beginning hearing, "Oh, you can't fly." Like, I was partially living in Mexico City, so there was that moment of it's like, "I can't even go to Mexico City, what?" Like, it really was all the news, as people were talking about it, and then there was I don't know if I read something or someone said sometimes, "No, that's only by land, like, the border's closed." I'm all, "Oh, flights are still open." And then I thought, "What else is still open that everybody thinks is closed and not possible?" So for
Mm,
me, it was an interesting comment I made once. We were having, I think, a meeting online, and everyone, from around the world are talking about how things are closing in their area and this and that. And I thought, what does that actually mean? Because I had not lived it, because I did not see that, even being in California, that stringent of like, no one's like got your door locked, like, and I get it. It was different all around the world, but I think, wow, what else have we concluded and decided is not available or possible that is?
yeah, and you take choice away from yourself at that point, you know,
Totally.
before you even give it. Like, and that's I would say, like, that's one of the things to me about this renegade energy is,
Mhm.
like, people that are renegades, they're just willing to choose, like, they're really willing to function outside of the box constantly, be
Yeah.
aware of, different possibilities, different energies, and really be willing to choose it, and to have it, and to do whatever is required to create it, and
Yes.
I mean, and now we don't have this thing going on anymore in the way that it was. We have other things where people are saying, now the economy is going to crash and blah blah. And I'm just like it's like here we are, we have a new year, which it doesn't have to be significant, but it's a fun little moment to be like, cool, let's, start fresh. Um, and it's like it's our time. I
It
mean, it
is.
really is our time.
And, we also lived through a time where, we had the major house market crash, all sorts of things, right? And I remember during that time, I chose to resign my full-time teaching position during that time. And I remember people looking at me like, "Are you crazy? Like, that's secure, you got your income." And at that moment, there was something else I knew was possible, and I was just newish to the Access Consciousness tools. So it's like there was a world of possibilities that was starting to stir up. And I remember, I also started a business, that people would have said I was crazy. And I remember the gift of my sister saying, "Sylvia," one of my sisters, like, "How's it going?" I was like real concerned. And I thought, fine. Like, what do you mean?" She goes, "Well, right now, people don't have the extra income to pay for your services." Because I started a business working with parents and children and schools. And I looked at her, I was like, and it was the first time I got it, because we talk about your point of view creates your reality. And nowhere in my world was I looking through the lens of the economy or you know, finances from that perspective. For me, I was looking at the possibilities and the gift of the tools and what could open up and change for kids, parents, teachers. Like, I was excited about that. And I
Yeah.
had a waiting list. I couldn't keep up with all the
Yeah.
people that I had on my list. And I thought, wow, that is your point of view creates your reality. So if we started to look at what's our point of view right now, and this is, oh my gosh, I could go on the list of access consciousness tools, because when you notice someone bring up, say, the financial what situation or whatever it is, you'll notice this energy stir up in you, like where you either want to align and agree or resist and react. And to begin to acknowledge both of those will stick you. And then to
Yeah.
actually
There's
have the tool
yeah.
to create space so that you can choose what's true for you will
Yeah.
change your reality. But you have to be willing to be different. 'Cause, like you said, we're in it together. It's like, what does that mean? That you all
Yeah.
gotta go down in the same hole? It's like, yeah, so really, I'm grateful because something new is available.
Well, it's funny that you talk about that time when the housing market was doing its thing, because I didn't even know what was going on. Like, I started hearing about that. I was like, "Oh, did something happen in 2008?" Like, I didn't know. But that would be like something, people would just be like, "Oh, you're so wrong because you're not in touch," and I
Yeah,
was just like, well, I was like, I had babies and, like,
right.
I was just doing my thing,
But that's the part too, there's other things that go with it. "Oh, you're such an airhead." Even
So
the energy of being dumb, we've talked about that. It's like, "How dumb do you think you are?" "I'm so dumb." But dumb because I'm not following what I should be following, and yet I keep creating, things keep expanding, so I'm like, "Hmm, I wonder what
I'm
actually."
gonna go with happy idiot instead.
But
Yeah,
yeah,
definitely. totally. Well, I'm excited because I know, we like
Yeah,
there's a lot of awareness that we both have about this topic, and we've both created a lot, and we've really created that, like, easy living and, beyond what we're supposed to be able to create.
yeah.
And I always know with, what are we talking about? We're talking about being a
The
renegade,
renegade guide for
having
easy
easy
living
living.
with
One
Dr. Dane. And I just gotta say, when I first met Dane, I remember looking it up on stage, and he was a ball of chaos. Like, he is this
totally.
exuberant joy and was willing to go right, left, A, Z, it was like, I remember my whole body relaxed. I was like, "Oh, it's okay." So
Yeah,
the gift of his awareness is his energetic fucking contribution. And I do wonder, like, where we'll go with this guide, even beyond what we may have as an awareness now of what's
totally. I mean, that's what I was gonna say is that, like, so what we're talking about is Dr. Dane here, who is one of the creators of Access Consciousness. If you, like, stumbled, that was from a YouTube user, so they might be like,
oh,
"Who are
okay.
these people and what's going on?" So, Access Consciousness is an amazing, just, like, body of work, like, a way, like, pragmatic tools, energetic tools for creating anything you would like to create, basically, that really work, and are very different. And he's one of the creators of Access Consciousness, and he's doing a class this weekend online, called The Renegade's Guide to Easy Living.
Mhm.
And it's like, so we have like a springboard to start from, and he is somebody that will take this conversation, and we will go places that nobody has ever gone before and that we can't even fathom right now. And
Right.
that's what I'm so curious
Yeah.
about.
Yeah.
I'm like, we have some ideas about, but I'm kind of like, but not really. Like,
No. He
where
has a way of surprising and going places you don't imagine going.
yeah.
And, uh, and one last thing I would say with these classes, I know when I first started that part of it, if you're looking to function from your mind to figure things out, that's gonna give you so much, you know? And the gift of access consciousness and the brilliance of Dr. Dane is that this is inviting us also to the energetics of possibilities, magic, and with that said, it's like if you're willing to open up to receiving the gifts of a class that you choose continues to gift beyond the end of the call. So I'm still perceiving, receiving from classes that took a long time ago. So it really is a gift. Explore it. I mean, like you said, there's YouTubes. You can look up Dr. Dane and accessconsciousness.com.
Yeah.
Or either one of us in our channels. But it is, yeah. I know my life, I never imagined it to have this level of ease and joy because I was so focused on being what I thought I needed to be for everyone else. And that included, sad and suffering.
Yeah.
And I still, my family's still around. I don't know if they like me a whole lot, but we had a nice Christmas. It's like there's actually, they can I have one sister who's just I was with her during this holiday more than before, and I thought, "What's so different?" I'm all, "Oh, she's now living. She's added
Mm,
to her life," and I thought, "That is so awesome." So, I wonder what we each can be to be that one inspiration for someone else to keep choosing and having
mm,
more, creating and living in a way that they might not see possible in these 10 seconds. So
yeah. Wow, that's so
that's what
beautiful.
it's about for me, so call me a renegade, call me whatever you like, and I'm gonna keep going.
I know you are. I love it. I love it. I love it. Um, and Helena posted, if you're on Facebook, I don't know,
Ah,
because we're in a bunch of different places, but she posted the link, and you can find it on accessconsciousness.com too. So
great.
um thank you everybody for
Thank
joining us. Thank you,
thank
Queen
you,
Renegade
Heather.
Sylvia.
And Queen Renegade Heather, yes, takes one to know one.
Exactly. See ya on the Renegade with a smile. I love it. Sylvia Fuentes, Renegade with a smile. We'll probably see some of you on the class and,
Yeah,
if not, other places at other times. So
All right. Take care,
Everybody. Have a
guys.
good one.